Waxahatchee Tiger's Blood album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this latest album from Miss Katie Crutchfield, aka Waxahatchee, singer-songwriter out of Alabama. She's been at it for quite some time, and she's an artist that I have a long history with. Back in the day, I was completely enamored with her debut album, American Weekend. While this thing was, lo-fi, a little grainy, a little rough around the edges sounding, Katie made up for it with songwriting and passion and heart. Very quickly, this became, a singer-songwriter album that I constantly would look to. Now, in the years after that, I was very under the impression that I had found, my new favorite singer-songwriter after that debut. But with Ivy Trip and Cerulean Salt, these were two very confusing albums for me with Katie. And I know that a lot of people really love the hell out of these things, but time and time again, we're coming back to these albums, they seem very directionless to me. This, to me, sounds like Katie really didn't know what direction she wanted to go in at the time, even if there are still songwriting highlights on those records. Now, around the time of her Out in the Storm record, I did start to regain some interest in Katie's music. This album was a lot more direct, a lot more heavy, a little bit more in the indie rock direction, and at the time, I adored that. That, to me, was a really solid direction for Katie's music. It seemed like she, knew what she wanted to do with her sound, because she sounded confident as hell. But since then, she's only grown in popularity and as an artist as well. Her last album, St. Cloud, many people consider it to be her best work, and I totally understand it, even if I do like Out in the Storm a little bit more at the end of the day. Even that Plains project a few years ago that she was a part of showed her moving in an alternative country direction, and that right there excited me, and clearly she is doubling down on that with this album, and it was very apparent from the singles leading up to this thing. I mean, they sounded just so confident and fired up, and a lot of this album is just that. This album starts off with Three Sisters, and yeah, it's a pretty stunning intro. It is beautiful. It's very stripped down. It's just some very sunny synths, a very strummed riff, as well as Katie's vocals. This track is perfect for a very smoky sunrise in the country, and instantly, songwriting-wise, Katie's bringing her A-game. And when the rest of this instrumental eventually pops in, it's really well done. This is a great start, and let me tell you, Katie's venture into alternative country continues to really hit the spot. Evil Spawn, this is even more in the realm of my sweet spot with Katie's music. There's a little bit more rugged of a tune with some bluesy vocals and a whole lot of heart. I love the dusty riff and the determination that we get here from Katie in her own way. It's not as fired up or, intense as, some other artists, but in her own way, this is a pretty, direct jam. And not only that, she sounds at her most confident and comfortable in the best way. Ice Cold is more of that good stuff. I love the heart on display and the determination and the heart once again. And honestly, it's really great to hear her let loose a little. And what I mean by that is just listen to this. Her belting out these songs. I can't remember the last time I heard her this loud. But it's just as breezy and easy to take in. It's just really great to hear Katie this comfortable. And there's just such an instantaneous vibe to this track and a whole lot of this album that just puts a big smile on my face. Then we have Right Back to It, one of the first singles dropped from this thing, and I think it's the best track here. This is a rustic, stripped down alternative country ballad with, my God, heart to spare. Katie here, her performance is absolutely incredible, and she brings along MJ Lenderman, and he is absolutely right at home here. I mean, I knew that I liked this track to begin with, but I didn't know I needed this that bad. This is one of the best ballads I've heard all year. And Burns Out at Midnight actually gave me the chills. I love the storytelling aspect here, and Katie's vocals once again. Her vocals throughout this whole album, they're pretty impressive. It's honestly one of the more easy to take in tracks here. A lot of this album, while it is very good, it's fairly straightforward. But once again, something about this track just puts a gigantic smile on my face. When's summer coming again? I hate summer, but this track makes me want it. Yeah, I'm honestly really very happy with this album, and I'm really proud of Katie for putting out such a confident release in her discography. However, with a very straightforward and instantaneous like this, you're gonna get a little blip or a bloop here and there. Like Lone Star Lake, for example, this one's sad just because of Oh God, I mean this is such a beautiful, heartwarming record that just puts a big smile on my face. And then we get this track and it's honestly pretty faceless. The breezy atmosphere and the slide guitar actually is pretty interesting. But lyric-wise, vocal-wise, everything else, this doesn't even sound like a Waxahatchee track. And the Wolves shows Katie going for like an old school singer-songwriter kind of track, and I do respect that because I feel like that's a sound that she could absolutely pull off. It's quaint and cozy and all, but I also feel like it's a little stiff. Like, instrumentally, this album as a whole, I'm just gonna be blunt, it's not the most unique thing I've heard this year. It's pretty standard, and because of that, tracks like this just kind of get middle of the road. But thankfully, outside of that, Katie has brought her A game. She has really found a sound that I feel like she connects with and feels confident with, and I personally think I have a new favorite record in her catalog. Like Crimes of the Heart, for example. Of all the tracks here, this is the most downtrodden, bluesy, and truly heartbreaking. I mean, it's also the softest and most subtle track here. This is definitely Katie Crutchfield in the raw. And God, with that, she gives us an incredible performance of lyrics that are super compelling and vocals that'll tug on your heartstrings. And with that, we get a ton of really memorable lyrics and vocals that absolutely will melt your heart. I love Crowbar as well. I mean, this far in the album, love hearing something that's just upbeat and carefree and as whimsical as this. Once again, love a track like this because it lets Katie let loose a little bit. And lyrically, this may be the most beautiful track here, too. It almost gives me that sense of wonder and hope and love of life that Casey Musgrave's Golden Hour did years ago. 365 was dropped pretty late. I was only dropped maybe a week or two before this album came out, and it only made me more excited for it. The storytelling that we had here, it's Katie bringing her A game. This is some of the most revealing bars of this entire record. And with that, we get a very intimate instrumental. Everything about this track just comes together. It's really, really nice. And Tiger's Blood, this album's title track, really, really wraps up this album nicely. It's actually probably my favorite deep cut here. I love how sweet on the ears it is and that sense of hope in the lyrics. It also has this sense of finality to it that I feel like this album needed. The dual vocals, great detail, they gave me the chills. This is just a really solid finale to a very impressive alternative country album. I mean, I've been a fan of Katie's work for years. I've basically been following her since her debut record. But to hear her just come to life this much on this record feels like, I don't know, her discovering her sound for the first time, which is crazy to think, but that's absolutely the vibe that I get here because this is by far her best album, period. Instrumentally, vocal-wise, lyric-wise, this is her most consistent effort, and I think it's my favorite thing that she's done, and it's easily going to be one of my favorite singer-songwriter projects of the year. I'm feeling a very strong 8 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.